And we're back. All right. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Buyers on Demand podcast. Today, it is an honor to be with Alex Sherman. Alex is a Sacramento Realtor, a dog dad, a dad as well, and many other things that Alex is going to describe when he describes himself. Alex, for your sake, I'll give you a 30 to 60-second pitch about why we started the podcast, my story, and then we'll go into yours.
Okay.
The short and sweet of it is about 3 years ago, I started a real estate media company, and I did that with a partner of mine. We serviced many realtors here in the Las Vegas Valley, and we did that for about maybe about 2 years ish. And unfortunately, due to health complications with my business partner that I was working with, we had to shut it all down. When we did that, we had to transition from everything that we learned with real estate media, and we didn't want to just give it up, all the skills that we learned. So we went into real estate marketing, so more digital marketing aspects. From there, we partnered with another person who had serviced hundreds of realtors, did the digital marketing thing, and we found many things in the space that we were not fond of. One being that marketing secrets are very kept secret. Marketing secrets are literally secrets behind paywalls. And so you
Mhm.
have these gurus that are out there saying, you have to pay for my course and you have to pay for blah, 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 blah. And ever since we started to see this across this real estate marketing world, we wanted to expose the real estate marketing secrets with podcasts like these. And hence why we have this podcast today and why we're speaking.
Got it.
Now, that's a little bit about my background. And I teed it up at the very beginning saying you're a dog dad, a dad as well, a real estate rock star in the Sacramento area. Alex, how would you describe yourself for the audience listening here?
Um, Pretty much just like you said, I'm a family man, got my dog behind me.
Yeah.
Wife stays home. I have a almost 2-year old now that takes up a lot of our time. So, um, you almost have to try to find time to work. So, but
Yes.
we make it
Yes.
work.
So, Alex, I know you've been in this space for about 9 years, almost a decade now. Now, prior to you being involved in the world of real estate, what were your career ambitions, excuse me, and how did you transition into this world?
Wow. I'm 29. So I got my license when I was 20 years old. Um, so obviously I didn't really have anything crazy going for me at 20 years old yet. So I was going to go to college to be a mechanic for automotive. I have a passion for cars too. Um, Quickly realized I did not want to do that for the rest of my life after talking to a few people that do it as a main career. Um, and I happened to talk to my uncle, who is my broker now. Um, and he was like, "Well, why don't you come work for me and see how you like it?" So I did. I got my license. And just kind of started that journey with him. And I can't say I loved it ever since because there were some hiccups along the way, but now I do love it. It's what I want to do for probably the rest of my life, at least for now.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. And it sounds like, as you mentioned, there was kind of a roller coaster of a journey, and so we'll dive into that. Before we do, tell us a little bit about what were you doing when you first kind of joined your uncle as a broker? What were some of your day-to-day tasks? And then we'll get into some of those roadblocks that you saw.
Yeah. So I started out as his assistant, and I honestly still am his assistant while I'm building my business too, because it just helps me have that, somewhat predictable income coming in. Um, so in the beginning, it was a lot of just back office, helping him with paperwork, being his transaction coordinator, as a lot of agents know what that is, and helping him, go out to showings, really get an idea on what it's really like to be a realtor. I'd say in the beginning is what he showed me. Um, one thing, one thing I would say that delayed me figuring this out, because I did mention to you, I just really started figuring out how to run a real estate business like a year ago. Um, is being with a boutique brokerage, there's not like a lot of training. He has taught me a lot, but it's just, figuring out what works for me took a very long time and what I would really stick to. Um, and I can dive into that if you want, but
Yeah, I'm curious to hear a little bit about that. And I love where this conversation is going because, oftentimes when you're listening to a podcast or a piece of content on YouTube, you always hear kind of like the highs, right? Like that's what social media is designed to share. People are not as privy to share some of the lows of their career. It's just all the highlights. So I'm
Hmm.
really curious. Yeah, please
Yeah.
do elaborate a little bit on some of those roadblocks that you saw.
Yeah, so he kind of just told me, hold open houses, and I swear by open houses still now because I know how to do them properly now. Um, but I would just really hold the open house, and I didn't ever come prepared in the beginning, so I got insulted a few times. People were just like, "Dude, does this guy even know like what this house is?" Like, they just have basic questions I should know, right? So now, I've learned at least with open houses that it's good to be fully prepared, like understand, if any work has been done recently, like how old is the roof, the AC, what's the lot size? A lot of people ask that, you know, things you should know. And I've noticed when people come in and you have those things on top of your head, and you don't have to say, "Hey, let me look it up real quick," because they could do that. So if you're quick to know things, they'll likely work with you. And I have honestly a lot of my business still comes from that now.
I love
So
that.
yeah.
I hear that a lot from a lot of top producers, really, that I speak to on a daily basis. They swear by open houses. At the end of the day, any sort of strategy that realtors apply, whether it's cold outreach, whether it's paid ads, whether it's organic social media, or whether it's open houses, it always comes down to volume. And so the
Hmm.
top producers that I talk to, it's like, yeah, open houses work because I do it religiously. I don't just do it once and nobody shows up and that's it. I have like a test size of open houses that I do and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. So I totally get what you're saying about them being effective.
Yeah.
I I want to go. I want to stick on that point that you brought up about being prepared prior to the open house.
Hmm.
Are there I want to speak a little bit tangibly for the audience. Are there
Hmm.
any dockets or pieces of information or flyers, pamphlets, anything like that that you bring with you, or how do you stay as fully prepared prior to the open house?
So I'll have a flyer, but I don't know if agents do this. If I may be the only one or very few, but I keep them in the drawer. And the reason I do that is because if people pick up the flyer, they're gonna have all the info in front of them, so they have no reason to really talk to you. At least from what I've noticed, some people still come in and say, "Do you have a flyer?" And then I'll just hand it to them. But um, a lot of the times, it starts opening that door naturally for conversation just to start happening. So that's just kind of my strategy because I don't like to hammer people. Like, you know what I mean? When they first walk in, I just introduce myself, shake their hand, let them walk through if they have any questions, and then usually they do. Even if they're basic, it just still starts that conversation. And that's been good for me. So.
And I love that because it makes me think about the kind of the retail experience, right? Like, and I'm sure you get this all the time hosting the open houses that you do so much of. When I'm going into a store, for example, and the salesman says, "Hey, like as soon as I walk in, hey, are you looking for anything? How can I help you?" That kind of thing. Immediately, it's like just my
Wall.
subconscious goes,
Hmm.
"Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I'm just looking around." Immediately, put the wall up. And so every time that I think about it, when I'm having like just a retail experience, now obviously real estate is much higher of a transaction than retail, but there's still similar principles there.
Hmm.
I think about all the times when I did actually confront a salesperson for help. It was usually the one who was reserved, backed off, let me have my space, and would actually provide value along the way. And so it sounds like you kind of follow a similar methodology. And so my question in regards to that would be, can you walk us through maybe I might put you on the spot in terms of pulling through your memory bank,
Okay.
but one of those like successful deals that you may have done that came from an open house. How did that relationship start, and how did you end off the open house?
Yeah. So actually, last year I have a perfect example for you. So we had two listings in the same neighborhood, same general neighborhood of Ranch Cordova. Um, and I was holding our worst one open, I would say, like as far it was very outdated, and then we had one down the street that was really updated, and it was around like the same price. So these people came in, and I kind of did my thing, just introduced myself, let them walk through, but I overheard them say like, this needs some work, and then that's when I kind of was like, all right, I'm gonna go confront them. So I said, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but we have a house down the street that is kind of sounds like what you're looking for. If you want, I can leave my open house and just go show it to you real quick, and then I'll usually just put a note on the door like, hey, I'll be right back in like 5-10 minutes. Here's my number if you need me. Um, Took them to the house. They walked through. They're like, okay, this might work, but we'll let you know. So they left. I packed up my open house at the other one after a few hours, and as I'm driving home, they call me back and they say, "Hey, can you come back out here and show us this one more time?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I turn around and let them in, and they're like, "All right, like what do we do next? Like we want it." And I was like, "All right, awesome." So wrote the offer, and they got it
Wow.
and closed.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's an awesome story.
that
Super
was
cool.
yeah.
I love that you share that because there are unfortunately some agents that I talk to
Hmm.
who believe that open houses are a waste of time, and
No.
I'm so adamant against that.
Hmm.
I am like a firm believer that everything works given enough effort that's put into it. So I totally agree with what you're saying. I love that story.
Hmm.
My question for you in regards to open houses, because there's so many misconceptions that I see around these. How do you successfully strike a relationship after someone comes in, they come and check out the property, and you get to the end of their tour and they're ready to walk out? How do you approach that next step of, hey, maybe we should talk a little bit further? I've seen some interesting strategies from other realtors, but curious on your thoughts.
So again, kind of to touch on how I opened that conversation, I don't like to be a pushy guy.
Hmm.
I think it pushes people away.
Hmm.
Um, so if someone genuinely is just not interested, and I've tried to engage with them, and they're just I'm just like, all right, you know what? I'll just say, have a good day. They leave, and some agents might be like that. You're just wasting. You might lose business that way, and you probably weren't going to get it in the first place. Let's be real.
Hmm.
So it's like I let them leave, and then if their listing's still available for me to hold open again in the same neighborhood next weekend, I mean, I've had people come back multiple times and I'm just building that recognition with them. Even if I don't end up selling them a house, it's still, in my opinion, helps you build that like personal brand in that neighborhood because they're just seeing your face constantly. They're seeing your signs constantly. And honestly, to touch on signs, I feel like you really need to have branded signs, not just those red and white, like open house generic signs, because that might be a waste of time in my opinion. I mean, that's just me. It's just because people are driving around. That could be any agent that's using that sign. But if they see, your brokerage or your personal brand on that sign in the neighborhood every weekend, it's like they just start building that recognition. Like, oh, that's that guy, from that open house. So, you know what I mean? I feel like,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. I love that. Great. How do you separate yourself? I know you mentioned in terms of you add your branding, maybe a photo of yourself,
Hmm.
but what are some, again, I want to try to put everything into layman's terms for the audience. When you say, you don't want the red and white signs, everyone understands what those look like.
Yeah.
How do you make your signs different from the rest?
So right now, I I'm working with a tighter budget because like I said, a year ago, I just figured out, okay, this is what I need to do to really grow my business. So I'm using my broker signs. But I feel like just for my situation personally, it works because it's literally me and one other person. There's no other person with this sign. So me using his signs, I mean, eventually I want to get my own branded signs that are personal to me to start building my personal brand in these neighborhoods. But at least for right now, what's working for me is just using my broker signs. It just says Reed Block Realty, and people know who he is in the neighborhood that I was mentioning with those two houses. So they kind of just it starts working that way.
I love it.
So
Very cool. I want to go back. There's so many ways that we can take this conversation, but one of the things
yeah.
that I really think would make this episode very unique
Hmm.
across all the different guests here is you talking about the roadblocks in your journey. You mentioned like I wish I could say at the very beginning of this conversation. You said I wish I could say I've always loved it from the very beginning, but that's not necessarily true. There are many times that I actually maybe have wanted to leave the business entirely, and so I'm curious to hear how did you get from this is going well to no, I need to get out of here, and then how did you come back?
So one time in particular, it was pretty not recently, within the last like I'd say like 4 years, or 6 years, I quit. I was like, all right, this isn't working. Like obviously we're commission based, so if you're not making sales, you're not making any money. So I went and worked at a warehouse for 2 years. And what happened was I started really just hating working, having to wake up every day at the same time and leave at the same time. And my hours are just constricted to this 9 to 5. Like, it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. In my opinion, it's like, I'm not built for a 9 to 5. I hate it. I like waking up. I still make a schedule, but it's my schedule. Like, I can, if I need to take a few hours to go do something, I can do it. So I got that fire under me again. I called my uncle. I said, "Hey, like, what, like, if I could come back, like, do you want me to come back?" And he was actually telling me how busy he was, so he could really use my help. So again, I ended up going back and helping him build his business, like I was saying in the beginning, and then started realizing because he started slowing down a bit. I'm like, all right, I need to figure this out. So like, how can I stay in this so I don't go back to another job? So
Sure.
I started really just figuring it out from there.
And I think prior to this episode,
Hmm.
correct me if I'm wrong. I think you might have had that moment or that epiphany maybe twice. Is that right? Or
Yeah, because 6 months in, I quit.
hmm
Which a lot of agents do. I mean, it's
hmm
hard. It's a
exactly.
hard business. So,
Yeah.
um, I was young and just decided to, go back to a normal job. To be honest with you, I don't remember what I did at that time. It might have been that warehouse and then left, came back into the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, but luckily I had a cool boss there and I talked to him about it. I said, "Hey man, I have this opportunity to go back." And he's like, "Just leave, like quit." So I did. I quit and
Yeah.
came back. But it's just, you know, you just gotta give it time to work. I think that's the moral of what you're trying to get out of me right now. I think is just you have to give it that time to like really start. Real estate is a long game. Like you're not gonna jump into this business unless maybe if it was during COVID, and start selling houses right away. It's just there's too much competition, so you have to really
Totally.
stick out from that competition.
I mean, any lessons that you share obviously are valuable, but I think the main takeaway here again is that everyone shares the successes of real estate, but everyone goes through these pits when they're first starting.
Yeah,
Like it's a very huge jump, especially from in your position where you're 19, you're still like you have all these thoughts of what do I want to do with my life,
yeah.
and maybe you had like a W-2 job prior, and so you had your only frame of reference in terms of work was I get paid, every other week. I show up on, this time and I clock in and I listen to my boss. And then the jump is so drastic to use you completely having to do everything for yourself. You have to figure out your schedule. You having to figure out how to stay motivated each morning to actually wake up early
That's the
because
hardest part.
nobody else is holding you accountable. It's up
No.
to you, and then the idea of okay, I need to find every single month X amount of people to make a life changing, investment,
Hmm.
or else I can't do X, Y, and Z. And so that is, in terms of a mental hurdle, this is not something that is commonly shared, online, but it's such a huge wall for many agents to overcome. So, you sharing that, I think, is super valuable to the audience, and they
Hmm.
can take whatever moral lesson they want from that.
Yeah, you
So,
have to stay self-motivated, like you said. I mean, no
yeah.
one's telling, even if you go work for a big brokerage, just from what I know, like I've never worked for a big brokerage, but just it seems like, they get you in the door and you still have to go find those deals. Because
hmm
I, I don't know if my uncle's gonna listen to this, but it's like I had this point where I was like, all right, maybe I need to switch brokerages and see like if that's gonna help me. And after I really started doing research and talking to these brokerages, I was just like, it's yeah, they give you more tools, but you still have to go out there and get the business. Like no matter where you work, unless you go work for a team, like you have to go make it for yourself. Like that's the bottom line.
Tell us in this refrain here,
Hmm.
of having to figure out your schedule, having to go get it yourself. You alluded to it at the beginning of this episode that open houses are kind of your bread and butter in terms of generating business.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about how many open houses do you do? How do you get these open houses? That kind of thing.
So this the one thing that does kind of drawback on working for a small company is the open house opportunities.
Yeah.
So there are weekends where I literally don't have any houses like opportunity because I can hold any of my uncle's listings open if he has one, but um, we deal with a lot of bankruptcy sales. That's like one of the specialties we do. But 9 times out of 10 they're occupied, so
hmm
they're not going to let me, go in there and hold their house open.
Yeah.
So
While they're watching TV or something. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that before and I'm not doing that again. But basically, it's just if he has one open, I've tried the thing where I, cold call like other agents and I'm like, hey man,
Yeah.
I see you have this listing and you don't have an open house scheduled. Can I hold it open? And usually they're just like, no, hang up. Like these are my
hmm
listings. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave up on that. I just feel like it's not, there's other ways to do it too. Like I also do a lot of social media. So
Hmm.
if I don't have a weekend where I have open houses, I'm usually doing a lot of social media throughout the week to try to generate more business. So, and I actually have a house in contracts, my first one right now that came from TikTok. And I think it's so cool. But
Share, do tell.
yeah,
Yeah, share the story. How did it happen?
so I was at a new construction community. I was filming like their models. They had some like crazy incentive going on where it was like just for like $1,000 deposit and get in the door, and it was like a really low interest rate. They're offering like a 399, so it naturally just got a lot of views. Um, and this person reached out to me, and I think what ended up happening. I mean, I'm still kind of figuring out the social media stuff, but my educational content started getting pushed to this person, and she reached out to me and said, "Hey, I don't want to buy over there, but like, can I call you?" And we hopped on a call, and she said, "You know what? I want to use you as my realtor." And I said, "Music to my ears, of course, great. Like, let's do it." So, um, yeah, I ended up showing her houses. They were really far away, like hour and a half away, but I just stayed super dedicated to her and just kept showing up for her, and we're in contract on a house. So,
This is wonderful. This story. I'm so glad you shared it because I was just speaking with a realtor 2 days ago, and we were discussing the stages of the funnel in terms of content strategy.
mhm.
And there's a common mantra. I won't get into the whole conversation. I'll try to condense it into like 60 seconds.
Okay,
There's a common mantra of people online who are like, don't ever try to make videos that get views because views don't equal buyers. But what you just described is this funnel where you correctly film a video, a home tour that gets a lot of views. That person sees that because it's on their page now. A lot of people are checking it out. She goes to your page and she sees all of your bottom of funnel content, which is the educational stuff that you're talking about, and she decides to reach out. And so
yep,
you are a case study that shows no, this has worked for me. I was able to get views the right way. I wasn't dancing on TikTok.
yeah,
I was able to, post what is called top of funnel content, which is this home tour. And then when they came to my page, they saw more narrowed, more educational content. And so I love that you shared that story. There's this just very common misconception online that like, don't ever try to get views. Don't ever try to get views. No, you can do it the right way, and you are an example of that study. So
yeah.
I
Thank you.
love that you shared that, man.
Yeah.
Um, in that same vein, in terms of content too, I saw on your recent post you just collaborated with a local. I think it was an aquarium. Is that right? And it seems like you might be starting to do some lifestyle stuff around the community. I'm curious to hear about that.
Yeah, so I switched up my strategy a little bit because I feel like going super hard on, being again, it kind of ties back into being super salesy. Um and I know I've heard other people in like other podcasts say, it says real estate salesperson on your license, but I think the game has just changed, a lot. So I have been doing a lot of like local content, and I have seen other realtors in my area do this as well, and they get a lot of views. Like, there's one guy in particular, he goes to restaurants or in our area and reviews like the food. And he's getting so many followers now, and I'm sure he's selling houses. I haven't looked at his stats, but it's just like you said, it's like that top of funnel content. It's like
Yep.
everyone's curious about food in an
Yep.
area. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
even if they're not looking to buy a house now, they're probably gonna follow you for the food. And
Yes.
then maybe they're thinking about buying a house, in a year, and they're still
Yeah.
following you, and your stuff starts popping up.
Well,
You know what I
that
mean?
was exactly the conversation I had a couple days ago with the realtor that I was talking about.
Yeah.
He's in Antelope Valley, the AV is what they call it,
Hmm.
and he is the digital mayor over there. Where because he posts a ton of content about restaurants and things to do and blah blah blah. And he was saying like he was getting so much views from it, but what happened was he um, he basically went on one extreme where he was just trying to optimize for views, and so people would reach out to him but they wouldn't know that he was a realtor.
Yeah.
So what he did was he blended both, and so he would start filming all of these attractions everywhere to get that top of funnel, people check him out. But then when they would go to his page, they would see more of his real estate stuff like how you just described, and
Yeah.
then people started reaching out and he was able to start closing deals that way. So totally 100% love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And mind you, like, going back to that video that got a lot of views, that new build video, you are, having to message a lot of people and a lot of tire kickers. I mean, let's just be real. Um, but you just gotta keep going, like, just keep to respond, be fast at responding, just like as if, you're getting a lead from email, whatever, and it's just like Zillow, you got to be fast at responding to these people because, you know, speed to lead, at least on social media, I feel like is super important.
There you go.
Um, so, not all of them are obviously going to be buyers, but it's just top of funnel, bringing them in to your page and your sphere.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool story. I want to shift gears now
Okay.
and swap a little bit from the marketing and talk more about your area.
Sure.
You're in Sacramento. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen in terms of the misconceptions that a buyer or excuse me, a buyer has about the Sacramento area when you're talking to someone.
So I'm going to niche down just a little bit if that's okay.
Hmm.
So I'm in Rancho Cordova specifically. It's a suburb, like I want to say 20 minutes from downtown Sacramento. So I know a lot about Rancho specifically. And a big misconception about this area is it's got, crime. And we do have crime in the older part of Rancho, but Rancho is growing like so much. Like there's so much construction out here, especially South Rancho. Um, and they have great schools. Most of it's part of the Elk Grove School District. So you're getting like 9, 10 rated schools. And I feel like that's the biggest misconception of ranchos because everyone has. It used to be, only old ranchos, so people just, especially in the older generation, just think it's a bad area to live. So, and it's not. I live here, so I have no intention
Well,
of leaving.
so exactly, that is exactly my next question is I assume you've probably lived here all your life, maybe, or at least a good portion of your life. So my question to you is, what is it about the area that you've never considered leaving from?
So, a lot of my biggest reason for staying just in the Sacramento area as a whole, I have never left here or moved anywhere outside of this vicinity. We're, 2 hours from the beach. If you want to go to the snow, Tahoe is 2 hours away the other way. I mean, it's just very easy to get a little vacation if you want. I mean, everything's within driving distance. Disneyland, I mean, it's a little further of a drive, but it's 6 hours away, 6 to 8 hours. So, I mean,
I
it's
love
just
it.
location. I love
The
the location.
location's great.
Yeah.
Totally. And I'm in Vegas currently, so like I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of distance and whatnot, and that's super important. That's like number one thing that my friends and family we all love to do is to go to Disneyland, go to Anaheim, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So totally get what you're saying there.
Hmm.
Now, tell me a little bit. You told me about the area, but tell me a little bit about the real estate market. What does the real estate market look like in the Sacramento area, or even maybe more niched if you want to go right now and maybe in the foreseeable future of 2026?
So I'm gonna niche down again to Rancho because I just really know this Rancho Cordova because Sacramento is a
Yeah.
big area.
Yeah.
Out here specifically, given that we have a lot of new construction, Rancho's getting a downtown area. It's coming soon. They're building a soccer stadium, which I mean is crazy for this area. It's never been like this. So basically, they're going to be implementing a downtown around this soccer stadium. So I think growth over here is just going to explode. Um, as far as like the actual market itself, um, it has been appreciating. Obviously, we've kind of gone through this slow period with rates when they started shooting up after COVID, in 2023 ish, 2022. So we had some price reductions, but I really see this area as like a long term investment. You know, you're buying in a good area, 100%. I don't know
And
how else to.
you also mentioned, that deal that you got from TikTok was
Yeah.
when you were checking out these new builds. And so do you have any updates or incentives or any exclusive deals that you've found in terms of the new builds in that area that you might be willing to share?
Yeah, so this person ended up buying about an hour and a half away from me in a market I, to be honest with you, don't understand that well. This was in Calusa, so it's like way out there. Like you basically go up to Yuba City and cut left for 30, 40 minutes and you're in Calusa. But
Wow.
we were looking in Yuba City too, if anyone's looking out there. I mean, I go all over the place. I've seen, people offering big credits. Like this builder specifically that she bought at offered a $50,000 flex or no $60,000 flex credit, so you can use that in any way you want. So you're paying full price for the house, but you have $60,000 to like buy down your rate, cover your closing costs, bring the price down if you want. So she ended up using some to basically pay no closing costs and then get her rate to like a four or something. So
Wow.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And so you mentioned, I mean, it speaks to how much trust that the person on TikTok had with you, that they were willing to like, hey, I don't want to I don't want to go anywhere near this area. I actually want to go 2 hours away from it, but I still
Yeah.
want to use you as my realtor instead of using someone else. So that's an awesome story. And yeah, no, totally. I speak with I speak with a fair share of realtors that specialize in like new builds, and I know like at the end
Hmm.
of the year, for example, they'll have end of year incentives depending on the supply that they have and the
Yeah.
time period that it is. So totally awesome. Anything else in terms of, I was talking about new builds, but even just in like the general resale homes that are in your area or adjacent to your area, are there any opportunities that you're seeing that maybe might be overlooked by the general public?
As far as resale, I think there are some good opportunities, especially out in that South Rancho Cordova area, because, like I said, there's a lot of new construction and they're trying to be competitive. So I've been seeing, resale homes that are selling for maybe more than you can get at a new build. But, sometimes with those new construction homes, you're having to sacrifice for like a smaller backyard. A lot of people know that. So an older home is going to probably get you a bigger lot. Um, but you're paying more for the house. So honestly, I've been really leaning like my buyers like come let's look at some new construction because that's where the deals are at right now. And they're trying to offer incentives so people are getting lower payments with a brand new home than they would with an older home that might, have oak cabinets still and tile counters. So that's just what I've been seeing.
Let's talk about the clients that you service too, because it seems like correct me if I'm wrong, but after viewing some of your content, I know a lot of your content is geared towards like first time home buyers, for example. I'm sure you deal with them quite a bit.
Mhm.
Maybe you deal with people that are maybe in a different demographic, but for first time home buyers specifically, what piece of advice can you give to a first time home buyer when they're thinking about buying a home for the first time?
Um, well, this is gonna sound cliche realtor talk, but you got to speak to a lender. I am not one to ask someone if they have, especially on the first like talk. Like if they first reach out and they're like, "Hey, I'm interested in this home," I'll usually go try to meet with them. But I really think it's important to know your numbers and if you can even qualify before you spend your time, and your gas going around looking at homes that you can't even buy. Um, and there are some lenders too where you can just talk to them and just say, this is my situation. Do you think I can even get a loan without them hurting your credit? So that's an option. Another thing too, if you're in California and you're looking to buy your first home, there's the Dream for All program that I think everyone should be taking advantage of right now. My mom actually is looking to buy a house right now, and she's taking advantage of that. So basically, what it is, it's a program you sign up for with through the state. um, you have to take like a class online, and they offer a $150,000 down payment assistance, but it's a lottery, so you may or may not get it. But I just advise everyone to at least try because it's a
Does
great
it hurt you
program.
to try? Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, there's obviously they're not just going to give you 150,000. They end up leaning your home. So when you sell, you have to pay it back, but it's again, it gets you in the door of home ownership, and I think
I
it's
was
a
just about to say it gets you in the door. Yeah,
it's a
totally.
great tool. Yeah.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about on your on your Instagram. I was
Hmm.
trying to pull it up as you were discussing this because I thought it was relevant to um, some of your expertise as you're talking. And I see on some of your posts you have like, and I'm gonna butcher this because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but
Okay.
a house that's pending in like 13 days, or a house that was sold in 16 or 19 days, something around that timeline. And I'm curious to hear a little bit about your strategy. How are you able to find a buyer so soon for some of these homes? What are your strategies to get this home that someone's trying to sell immediately looked at, under contract, that kind of thing?
So what we do, obviously, we don't just stick a sign in the yard and hope and put it in MLS. We do other things like obviously the open houses. I like to look at those as a way for just random buyers without their agent. It gives them more opportunity to just come look at the house. That's why I do like really long open houses so we can get as many people in the door as possible. Because with them trying to schedule a showing with their agent, it could have some hiccups and they may not get a time to come look at our house and they may find another one they like. So holding those long open houses really help get people in the door. I may have already said social media, but I swear
Mhm.
by it. So email campaigns too, getting the home in front of that. We do a lot of different things, not just put it on Zillow, Realtor, all that. So
That's awesome. With everything that we just talked about in terms of your strategies, I want to segue now into our game.
okay,
I think it transitions pretty perfectly into what you just said because you have experience being able to sell homes in record time. And so my question to you, let me know if you can see my screen here. Might have to bear with me for 2 seconds while this pops up here.
yeah, no problem.
Let me know if you can see this.
Oh, geez. Okay, I can.
Actually, hold on. Let's start with number. Actually, yeah, we'll start with this one. How would you sell this one, Alex?
So given that sales price and being in Loomis, um, obviously I would do the full package on this. So I hire a third party photographer. I'd be doing a real twilight, not a virtual dusk. So it would look really good, kind of like they did in here. Honestly, I think yeah, that looks really good. So professional photos, drone, twilight. I'd be hiring a production company to come out and do like a really good social media video. Um, and obviously holding the home open, getting as many people in the door. Um, and given that sales price too, you'd want to get pretty strategic on who you're reaching out to. Um, but those are the main things, just really giving it like a luxury feel and hiring that production company, I think would do a
Now,
lot.
now I want to move on to our second one here.
Mm-hmm.
How would you sell this bad boy here?
Oh man. Okay, so it's funny you bring this one up
Yeah.
because I have, excuse me, I'm actually dealing with a mobile home that's in Pollock Pines, so it's kind of near Placerville, and it's kind of similar to it's a 2 bed, 2 bath, 800 square feet home. I can see this agent did the strategy I did in the beginning where I didn't want to hire a professional photographer because of the sales price, so
Yep.
totally understand there. But this is my third time listing this other mobile home. So I actually didn't advise her to do updates, but she ended up doing some updates to make the home look better. Just simple like paint and some floors. And then I did get my photographer in there. So I think on this one too, like if I were to take that example and put it on this home, um, can you pull up the picture one more time just so I can look?
Yeah. Can you see it or?
I can.
Oh,
I
I see.
just
You want to see like
yeah, just the
a better look?
condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think pretty much do that same strategy. I mean, this one it looks like yeah, paint would go a long ways because you could see the sheen on the walls. Excuse me, on the
Mm-hmm.
walls,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting a professional photographer in there after doing a few things um, would probably help a lot. I know it sucks because a lot of agents can't get high commission on something this low, so they don't want to
Sure.
put the money into it. But sometimes it's better because if you do, maybe there's some other mobile homes in that park that might see how good you marketed this one and it sold,
Sure.
and it might lead to another listing. So that's how I look at it.
Awesome. I'm going to end off on this last note because I know, I'm approaching the end of our session together.
Okay.
I want to tie back around. Typically, I would just end this discussion after the game, but because of your story of these trials and tribulations, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And I'll wait for a second. And I want to ask you this one last question though. Seriously,
Yeah.
my question to you is: with all of your trials and tribulations, getting back into the business and going out of it, where do you see the future of real estate heading, especially as we're going into this AI and digital age?
That's a good question. I, you know, I know there's like one guy in particular on Instagram that I can think of that likes to fearmonger a lot about
Mhm.
you. You probably know who I'm talking
I,
about.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
this guy.
Yes.
I think he does it on purpose because a lot of agents start
It's
commenting like, "You don't know what you're
yeah.
talking about," and then it just keeps boosting his video. But I
Yes.
really, I think there's something to be said about a personal connection. with someone and some real human helping you through the process and reading the paperwork, like I am a huge user of AI. Like I am subscribed to ChatGPT and I use the heck out of it. But I think as far as certain jobs, you just can't replace. I mean, I think there's some aspects of our business that might get replaced, but again, I use AI for my business to help me through my business. So I think the people that are using it like that will probably stick around. Um, but as far as, you know, completely taking the agent out of the equation and using AI, I think some people might do that and go that route, but I don't think it's going to completely kill our industry. It might hurt it a bit. I'm going to be honest. I think, in my opinion, there are, like I said, we probably lose some agents like we already are because it's getting harder. But I think the tough ones that really know how to show their value and prove their worth, like, really will still be around and be here to help people.
Alex, thank you. That was a perfect way to end our episode today. As we head off here, is there anything that you have upcoming, anything that you want to promote, anything that you want to share to the audience, where they can find you, where they can contact you, anything like that before we head off?
Yeah, so if you want to look at my page and see like what I do to promote myself on social media, my Instagram handle is properties by Alex. Same as TikTok. I also do YouTube, but it's pretty much all the same content. I just repost it on everything. Um, yeah, I mean and also can I touch on one more thing before we go?
Go for it.
So tying in when I mentioned earlier about my email campaigns, I actually had a buyer that sold my most expensive house ever in my career from an open house. She signed into my sheet and I was emailing her for a year, just like my generic email. Like, it's just, here's our new listings. She replied to that email a year later and asked if I could help her buy a house. And I barely talked to her at the open house too. I don't know how it happened, but I think just
That's
the
awesome.
consistent seeing my name,
That's awesome.
and I ended up showing her houses for like another year because she was very, very picky. And she ended up going from looking in the 700, $800,000 range to buying a new build in Folsom. It was 1.6 million. That was the most expensive house I've ever sold. I
Wow.
thought that was the coolest thing from an email
That's so
campaign.
cool.
Yeah.
How frequent were your emails firing to her? That kind of thing. What do the emails say? That kind of yeah.
Every 2 weeks. So I do a
Awesome.
bi-weekly email. It literally just shows, hey, we got a new listing. So I think maybe just her seeing like, oh, this guy's busy, you know what I mean? It just, even I was promoting my broker's listings, to be honest with you, but I'm actively
That's
helping,
awesome.
him
No,
promote
that's
his.
super cool.
So it's, I think that just led to that sale. And
Thank you for sharing that story. That's an awesome story. I
yeah,
think the audience will get a ton of value from that.
for sure.
That's sweet, man. Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again for this conversation. And as always, it's you can reach me via call, via text, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you.